As you can see, we really had some good times. Yeah, it's my sister's baby. Oh, no. But we've had some bad times too. I was fired from my job today. You don't want to tell a woman, a black woman, especially a black woman, you ain't got a J-O-B. Sometimes it seems like no one's ever going to speak to each other again. Then Big Mama comes to the rescue. She knows exactly what to do to bring us all back home. Soul food cooking is back cooking from the heart. Fox 2000 Pictures present Vanessa L. Williams, Vivica A. Fox, Neil Long, Michael Beach, Mekhi Phifer, and Brandon Hammond in a story about the people who make us strong and the recipe. I just want to say thank you for always supporting me. You my sister girl. That makes us a family. I just want you to know. Loving you is like food. One finger don't make no impact. Come on. You ball up all them fingers into a fist and you can strike a mighty blow. This family got to be that fist. So come on. Like that last shot, right, man? That last shot was the keep doing like that, baby. When you get older, you're gonna be able to get a fat contract. You're gonna give me a Lexus, all right? Lexus and a fire, you know what I'm saying? Yes, ball up in a fist. This family is a fist. So if you didn't know what we were talking about, let's make sure first, let's get it to you got everything on Facebook?
No, not yet.
Let's see. Let's get it going. This is live, y'all, and we are talking about soul food. You see it? You see it on there, Leroy?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we can roll in that, and once it comes on there, because it'll show up. It takes, I think sometimes it takes a little bit, but
yeah, I just want to make sure. All right, so when you see it, just go on and do it. I'm a talk.
All right, sounds good.
So when you see it, hi everybody, welcome to More Than Just a Movie. I am Kendell Lenice. That is my co-host, Leroy Mckenzie Jr. We are here every week, Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, More Than Just a Movie, where we break down classic Black films. The only way we know how to do it is, through humor, coaching, keeping it real, and we break it down like no one else does. So you can check all of the reviews. I guess you got it. Look, all the reviews out there, and you'll see that we do it a little differently. So as we always say, this is a spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen this movie in 30 years, then shame on you and shame on your parents. But right. not showing you this classic film. So today we are talking about Soul Food. Soul Food premiered September 26, 1997. It made $43.5 million in the box office, starring Irma Hall, Vanessa Williams, Nia Long, Vivica Fox. I'm your sister girl. You heard her. Mekhi Phifer, Michael Beach, Mel Jackson, Gina Rivera, and Jeffrey Sams. And we broke down Waiting to Exhale a couple of weeks ago, and Michael Beach was in there, and so was Jeffrey Sams. So they worked together. All right, Leroy. So before we talk about the soundtrack, let's see if you remember this. Do you remember where you were when you saw Soul Food in 1997?
No, I don't remember exactly. You know good well. I told you I can't remember yesterday. You don't remember 1997. All I know is I was 28 years old, working. I don't, and honestly, I believe I went to the movies to see it, because all of these movies, I believe I've gone to the movies to see them, because these are just movies that you got to go, just even if you just went to support, but this was one of those feel good movies that the whole family could go see.
Yeah.
And this was all of our Black families. You could relate to somebody in this family. Yeah. One of these people was either you or you knew somebody in your family that you could say, oh, that's who that was.
Yeah. And they had Big Mama. This movie made such an impact that Showtime, Babyface and Tracy Edmonds, it decided to be producers. Was it Mr. Tillman's movie or show, Soul Food? And that ran for several seasons on Showtime. Everybody was trying to get Showtime to watch it. I remember I had a part-time job, and it was at a store. And let me tell you something. So my youngest daughter, was 2 years old. And I remember I was going in Ross so much. They asked me if I wanted a part-time job. And I was like, what the heck? So I said, I'll use this for my car insurance money. But I said, I think Soul Food came on Tuesdays. I said, but I can't work on Tuesday nights.
I know that's right.
Soul Food back then. So the movie made an impact, and the television show even made an impact when we think about Soul Food. And shout out to my daughter, Amara. She loves the song Mama as we're talking about Soul Food. Now, she was born in 1999. This movie came out in 1997, but she loves it. And why I found it so ironic is because I remember giving my mom the cassette single of that song for Mother's Day. And now I turn around and my daughter loves that song, and she wasn't even born.
But
so let's talk about
that Mama song by Boys to Men. That was I think that was everybody's Mother's Day song that that year or the following year, or it has become the song for Mother's Day.
It was a touching song. I remember them on Oprah Winfrey's show. And they were singing that song, and their moms were in the audience. I remember when that came out. So as always, one of Leroy's favorite parts is when we talk about the soundtrack. Before we get into the movie, let's talk about the soundtrack. We talked about Mama, Boys to Men, Blackstreet was on that, Drew Hill, shout out Baltimore, Escape, Usher, Monica, In Vogue, Earth, Wind and Fire, Total, Tony. So of course, Milestone as well, which was the made-up group of two sets of brothers. So it was Babyface's brother, Kevon and Melvin. And then you had Casey and JoJo of Jodeci, and they created Milestone. A fun fact is they were going to actually be a group. I don't know, it just didn't work out, but they were going to be a group, and Babyface was going to write the songs and all of that. So let's talk about the soundtrack.
Did you know that Casey was in the band in the movie?
They both were.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah, I didn't realize that they were. I know Kevon was and everything like that, but I hadn't realized that Casey. I guess all these years I never paid attention to it. Yeah,
and JoJo, both of them. That was the group, Milestones. And then remember, Miles, Michael Beach's character, that was his group. So it really, of course, he played the saxophone, or piano, but it was them who had the group. So both sets of brothers.
Yeah, right. No, but that sound, this set, because I was looking at the soundtrack and I was like, man, this has some really, well, I think Babyface produced it. So what you expect? He's gonna get all the 5-star, folks and everything like that. So I mean, it's nothing but hits on the soundtrack as you look at the songs that were produced off of there too. So it's it was another, of course, a monumental soundtrack that went along with the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's so funny because we always talk about the quotes from the movies that people always say. And Big Mama was talking about the fist, family's like a mighty fist, and we make that impact. But one of my favorite lines that I will always say is, "You my sister, girl." And that was the part where Vivica, do you remember when they were standing outside of the bathroom, and Nia Long told Vivica that she was pregnant. So Maxine, she told Maxine, and then she said that part. And another fun fact is Vivica and Brandon, the mother and son, Maxine and her son, who told the story throughout, so he was the star, they are still tight to this day. Like every Mother's Day, he calls Vivica takes him out for his birthday. Oh, cool. They have managed, as an adult, to have this lasting relationship. So I thought that was pretty dope.
No, that's real. That's real right there. That's cool. That's in movie mama, and then they built that relationship outside of that, and that's really cool. And that's to me, that's what this movie kind of kind of brings to. When I think of it, you think of family, you think of different people who have affected you in that way. Because I know for me, growing up in high school, I had her name was Miss Jean Reagan, and she's my second mother. Love her to death, but she took me under her wing from high school. She was my Algebra 1 and Algebra 2 teacher, and used to always pick on me in class. I would have to stay at the class, but then she lived not too far from me, so she would drive me home. She'd drive me home, drop me off, and everything like that. But we developed this bond and this relationship because of that. And to this day, we go to the same church. She had been going to that church for years and years. And then my mom introduced me to the church, to that church. So we still are connected because I'll see her at church, on Sundays or sometimes, or if I haven't seen her in a while, I always know where she sits in church, so I can always catch her before she's on her way out and everything like that, to make sure that I just touch base with her, because she meant so much to me. So it's cool to hear that that Vivica Fox and Brandon stayed connected like that, because that's cool. You can't.
It is cool. And it was on social media, because I would see pictures that Vivica would put up and certain things. But on Instagram, he had like this little interview series, and he was talking to Vivica and talking about when his mom passed, how Vivica was there and how she just has always been there. And the connection was real when he was little. Like, she was checking on him, making sure he was okay. And that type of genuine, care and concern, it just stayed throughout. So, and like you said, that's really, when we think about family and we think about soul food, it's not just blood ties, it's that connection that people have, even when you call someone their family. And in recent months through this pandemic, my daughter was talking about Vanessa Williams' character. And she saw an interview either on Instagram or somewhere else. You remember, and we'll go, and if you're just tuning in for the first time, we don't go in sequential order. We just talk about different scenes as they come up. But when Cousin Faith cheated with Miles, her husband.
You had to bring that up first. That's supposed to be back.
No, I gotta say something. No, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about it. But it was interesting.
Part of the movie.
I know, we're gonna talk about it. But when Vanessa Williams went into the kitchen, we're not gonna talk about that part yet, but when she went to the kitchen and she was mad, and she said, F the family, F my husband. Do you know that she came up with that on the spot? It wasn't in the script. That's what she felt and said it.
Yeah, but that just shows you just how, but that's real though. That whatever, she did that on the fly, but that's just honestly, that's probably, if you could imagine something like that happening, you could see that very thing happening.
Yeah.
And her saying exactly what she said.
Yeah.
And the family acting and it happening because that was a party that they were having, and stuff always seemed to blow up at parties. Thanksgiving, Christmas, whatever, Easter, some kind of holiday, when everybody together, stuff just seems to blow up.
It just blows up. All right, so so we'll save what happened. Like, we'll go back, we'll save that for last. But when you think about soul food, when it comes on and they're at Bird's wedding, remember, they get married, Mekhi Phifer and Nia Long, Bird and Lem. But what I find interesting before I go into that is when they did Soul Food, the show, Mekhi Phifer was really married to Melinda Williams. So the Lem on the movie was really married to the Bird in the TV show in real life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they have a child.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
So they were skipping all around, but So when Bird and Lim were getting married and Big Mama was at the wedding, and that hoochie, what she said, that hoochie girl is dancing with my new husband. And in true sister form, her sisters came out, Terry and Maxine, to figure out who it was. And that sets the tone of this movie, because Big Mama had a way of smoothing things over and making everyone comfortable, safe, and secure, as Big Mamas often do. So when they were going back after having the meeting in the ladies' room, and when they went back, Big Mama was dancing with Lim, and everything was okay. You want to talk about that a little bit, Leroy?
Well, but I think you're exactly right, because Big Mama, as you know, as everybody affectionately calls her in our families, she was the peacemaker. She was the one that didn't, you know, that didn't take any foolishness, but two, didn't want the family to be upset, or to be you know, disorganized, or in chaos or anything like that. She was the glue. She was that glue to the family. So she would do subtle things like that nobody else would pay attention to, or would even kind of do, but it was just who she was. It was her. That was her character. That was her personality. She was who everybody looked to when something needed to be fixed. It was Big Mama gonna fix it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what the character, what was her name, Josephine, in the movie, that was her name. That's what she did. Big Mama was the one that fixed everything, and she was the one that everybody leaned on, you know, to get things, you know, kind of straightened out, as you said, and everything like that. So that set the tone for the movie, and it set the tone for the family, you know, just in general, set the tone for the family, you know.
And what I like about this movie, and even watching the interview with Ahmad and Maxine, real life, Brandon and Vivica, last year, and what I liked about what Vivica said, she was like, you really, telling Ahmad's character, Brandon, you really were the star of the movie. And when you think about it, when she said that, I was like, he sure was, because this little boy did the narration for the entire movie. Like, it was, even though it was about the family, it was really about his relationship with Big Mama, and trying to, even when she passes away, trying to live out her spirit in what she would have wanted. So how you feel about that he kind of told the whole story of his family?
No, I thought it was cool. And like you said, he was the lens with which you saw the family, and his connection to everybody that was in the family, but more specifically his connection with his grandmother. And it, when we were, and I knew we were going to be talking about this, it made me go back to thinking about my grandmother, and how my grandmother on my father's side, she was Big Mama. You know, our Mama Elise, that's what we called her. She was that house that everybody came over to. that even in the neighborhood, everybody knew Miss Elise's house, which was my grandmother's house. Anybody was welcome there. She, you know, everybody was welcome there. She always made you feel at home. She always made sure you had food. I always hear, you know, I don't know about you, but I hear, you know, those that are passed on, I still hear her voice. You hungry, baby? You need something to eat?
That's one thing about grandmoms. My grandmother, who God rest, I was gonna say God rest your grandmother's soul. My grandmother, who is still 100, she ain't cooking nothing, and she probably don't even, you know, understand the stove right now. Don't care to understand. But she used to bribe me to come over. And she would say, this is how she would bribe me, Kendell. Like, if she hadn't seen me like in a couple of weeks or something like that, she'd be like,
I'm making peach cobbler.
Yep.
That's what she would say.
Yep.
Her
I think
peach
that's the grandma.
cobbler.
I think that's the grandma code of come over and get something to eat is making peach cobbler, because my grandmother
peach cobbler, right? Peach cobbler and potato salad, right? She would be like, and she would be like, and her potato salad was yellow like it's supposed to be for Black folks. Like, don't come with no white potato salad. It got to have some yellow tint in it. That's when you know somebody's mama or grandmama made that potato salad, okay?
And you better not have nothing that look like raisins.
As you pull up your solo cup, that's hilarious.
I'm sorry, I was coughing. I had to.
But that fell right in line with it. That good food. I mean, that's a good thing that you had that solo cup.
I lied to you not, Kendell. I have I don't know about anybody else, but I've never liked living onions, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was the nastiest thing.
Oh, my Nana used to make that.
The only person's living onions that I've eaten in my life is my grandmother's. She would fix living onions and my aunt, which was her daughter, my Aunt Joanne. They were the only two people that I've ever eaten living onions. And I would have it either over grits or over rice. Only time I ever eat it. I have not eaten it since. It is the nastiest thing in the world. But when she fixed it, it tastes so good. And I mean the onions and the gravy.
Your grandma made. That's because she made it with love.
I know, right? It's just, but I tell you, it's nothing like your grandmother's food. I'm telling you, it just it's just nothing can match it. And you will always. You knew when you went down grandma's house, you were gonna eat good. You gonna have some good.
Yeah. And it's so funny because then when my grandmother started getting older, she would just make spaghetti, right? Mm-hmm. So she would have everybody come over, and how we knew my grandmother was getting old when that spaghetti would be burnt at the bottom. We like, oh no, grandma, we gonna order because she used to always cook. And her food was amazing. And then we knew, so it was a whole thing. We already knew, like when we would go visit her, we would go roll deep. Everybody would go together. So we already had the game plan. We're going to order takeout. We're going to have it at her house. Because when she asked, and she'd be like, I'm going to make some spaghetti. We'd be like, no, grandma, because the last time it was all burnt at the bottom. But it's a joke because that's when you knew, the sign. But my grandmother is so funny because my god sister, I didn't even know she knew this. So shout out to Tashira. I didn't even know she knew this. She said, I make sweet potatoes like your grandmother used to make. And I was like, you had some? She used to put them in an orange. She would cut the orange in half. And then she would gut out the orange, right? So you have two halves. Right. And then what she would do is put the sweet potatoes in the orange cups. So it would have the zest of the orange flavor, the sweet potatoes, and then she would put marshmallows on top and put them in the oven. So that's when that was one of her signature things. And it's like, and I bring that up because my god sister was talking about that, never knew she had it. So you have this movie called Soul Food, and everything is around the soul and the feel goodness of it all when it comes to food. Why do you think that Black folks, even though soul food, in a lot of cases, when it's done that way, it is harming to your health, People have found twists and new ways to make soul food more healthy. But why do you feel that for Black folks, soul food is comfort food for many people? And it's that whole feeling of being around the table with your family.
Well, because of that it reminds us of who we were when we were growing up and that time that we spent with each other. You and I know, that was when you went to your grandparents' house or your grandma's house and you spent that time, you knew you were going to see your cousins, you're going to see your uncles. Yeah. That was the time to be able to see.
That's when you got with all your cousins.
Yeah, you get all your cousins. And like you said before at the beginning, the food was made with love. There's my Big Mama would be in the kitchen, like they did in the movie. Peeling the potatoes, for the potato salad, the washing the collard greens. You know what I'm saying? all the
popping
sink full
peas.
Popping peas, sink full of collard greens. You know what I'm saying? So all of those things, the sweet potato pie, the handmade prints in the dough. That's
fork going with the fork, getting that crust.
You know, all of those things. That's what soul food is. It's made, you know, it wasn't always the healthiest of healthy foods, but it wasn't necessarily always about the food, but it was about the time that we spent together as families, which I believe we've gotten away from. You know, you can't sit at the table, you can't get everybody to sit at the table now without everybody being this.
Or in front of the TV. You're right.
Or in front of the TV. So those, you know, that's what, to me, that's what, when I think about soul food, when I think about this movie, I thought about how it made me feel inside. It made me think about my family, how it made me think about my grandmother, and those relationships that we have within our families and everything like that. Like you said, your family, y'all would hop in the car all together. Y'all told each other, y'all gonna hop in the car and go to your grandmother's house, because that's what you did. You know?
Yeah.
Or spending, I know for me, it was about spending summers with my at my grandmother's house. She had a house here in Baltimore, but she also had a house up in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, which is a little dot in Pennsylvania, just above the Maryland Pennsylvania line. Takes about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half to get to. Not far, but she had a nice house, corner house, that we would go up there and we would spend the summer. I would spend the summer up there. My cousins were there and everything like that. But it was a quiet area. I mean, quiet little town. Had one of those we call it recreational pools that you could go and play to and stuff like that. But it was about spending the summer there with them, with them, and just it and everything like that. So that's what, to me, that's what this movie was about. It was about that, and about all of those, the different dynamics of the relationship that are in the movie.
Yeah.
I know we don't get into and everything like that, but that's what it's all about,
Yeah. And it's so funny because the one that I was talking about was my mother's mother. And then my father's mother was a different experience because my dad was the only child and I didn't have any first cousins. So it wasn't that. It was my grandmother and grandfather. So that was a different vibe, still a good vibe. That's where I had liver and onions for the first time with her. And I hated it. I was like, never. And it's so funny. Recently, my grandmother was asking, I was like, yeah, I had it at your house. And she was like, you did? I was like, I haven't had it since. But she was the grandmother with more structure. And when I say that, I mean, I have my mother's mother, who was a social worker, a people person, the social butterfly, this event, the 101 women and Ebony Fashion Fair fashion show. And she was the hobnobber. And then my father's teacher, meetings and everything was social, but it was just a different best of both worlds. And I see myself in both my grandmothers. And on one occasion, my mother would be like, you look like your grandma. Then the other one, she'd be like, you look like Nana. So I gotta, both of them, in me in different ways and in different ways to nurture and to cook. But the good thing about my mother's mother is, again, like you said, that's where all the cousins were. Because on that side, I had several first cousins, so that's where, were. And that's when, certain gatherings, and I could see her tablecloth now and her rotary phone on the wall with the long cord from the kitchen.
Yep, it sure did. It's just the kitchen all the way through the living room.
It's just to the living room. Like how the kitchen.
That's for sure.
And then you had to, with the rotary, if you messed up a number, you had to start all over.
That is for sure. I like, you knew you were gonna get two. You were gonna get a couple things when you went to your grandmother's house. You were gonna see that phone that you talk about, that rotary phone, and then in the living room, you were gonna see the furniture with the plastic on it. You were gonna see. You were gonna see that.
The yellow.
Absolutely.
The yellow. So let's talk about a scene. All right. So when you think about soul food movie, and you like to start with to talk about?
No, I think the one that stands out to me the most, I guess that's my favorite, is when the the cousin, what's her name?
Cousin Faith. Cousin
Faith.
Faith.
When cousin Faith, she asked Miles. She asked Miles to actually play because no, she asked Miles to play for her because she was doing she was going to the audition. She was going to the audition to dance.
Yeah.
And he starts to play. They had never rehearsed together or anything, but you get this energy between them, and they play the perfect song, of course. And he's playing
the barge.
Yeah. So I love that scene because he looks at her, and it's like he's looking at her not in a, I don't think in a sexual way, but he was just amazed at how she could dance, just how good of a dancer she was. Because of course he had never seen her dance or anything like that before. So he's playing and he's watching her dance to how he's playing. So I think the more he was playing, the more she started to dance and get into the rhythm of the music and everything like that. So I really liked that. I really thought that was a really a scene that stands out to me. That one is the one that stands out the most to me. I really like that.
Yeah. And that is a good scene, but that's where the attraction kicked off, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That scene is what kicked off, because I think it was what I think, when I think about that scene, it was the connection of artists.
Yeah. Yep.
You have a musician and you have a dancer, right? And Terry, his wife, didn't really understand that artistic kind of vibe and flow.
Right, exactly.
He was a lawyer and he was a lawyer, and she's like, why are you wasting your time with this creative thing and you're an attorney? You know what I mean? So that connection of another artist going after that, I think that was a connection they had in both being attractive people and attracted to, like you said, that energy. Might be a lag. It might be a lag because we're live.
I think it is. Yeah, but that's powerful. What you're talking about that, because him and Terry were having their issues anyway in their marriage. So here he is. He finds somebody that has that same energy that he has and has the same kind of passion for music and dance or artistry that he has, and that connection where Terry saw that music, it was like, oh yeah, that hobby thing that you're doing, that music thing. And when you don't connect with your spouse in that way, that can be a way for the enemy to be able to get in if you allow it to, and everything like that. And Terry didn't pay attention to that, and they kind of say that when they were at the table. And I don't know if we're going to talk about that scene too. When
for sure.
And he tells Terry that very thing, pretty much that it's like we didn't have that, that was never there, and we have to be very careful as husbands and wives that we do pay attention to what our spouse's interests are, and even if you don't like it, you should still, because it's their thing, you don't want to just dismiss it. There can be some times where you might have to suck it up and go to an event or be a part of something, but you do it not because it's something that you may enjoy or whatever, but it's something that the person that you love and that you're with, they enjoy it. So and sometimes they want to share that with you, even if you don't. And it goes the same way for the other way too, where you may have something that you're interested in that they don't care, that they may not care about. So they will do it or should do it just because it's you, and they care
Yeah.
about you enough to at least, say, okay, I'm going to be it, I'm going to be a participant in it, even if it's not something that I necessarily care about, think about, but because they
Yeah.
do, I'm gonna be there to support them, to like
Yeah.
it, and do all of those things in it. And I think that was one of the things that Terry in the movie Terry didn't understand with the relationship
Yeah.
with her husband. And do you know what that was Terry's second marriage? Was that Terry's second marriage?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it didn't
Yeah.
work. Her first marriage didn't work out either. So, you kind of have to take a look at those things and say, what's
Yeah.
going on?
Because I think she's so driven
Right.
by her career and
Right.
just being an overachiever and just being
Right.
a scholar, if you will.
Right.
Because if you remember, they always talk about her father was like, Terry, keep your head in the book. You know what I mean? So I think that was her focus. In love so much wasn't her focus.
Right.
And I think the real love of her life was Maxine's husband. Remember, they dated.
Yes.
So I think that was really that, but because she was who she was, he wasn't attracted to that. He was attracted to someone more like of a big mama who wanted to have a family like Maxine, who wanted to, serve her husband in that way, who wanted to do that. So he was more drawn to that. But Terry, I think that was really her first love, but she didn't know how to be that woman,
Right.
until until they got to the TV series when she learned how to be with Boris. But
that is so true. I mean, and you just made some really great points about that with her wanting to be, she liked what's the name's husband initially, because he was the one that they had dated it initially. But like you said, the father had an influence on her being in a book. So as a consequence, as she got older, that focus became on the career, and I'm quite sure pleasing the father, doing all of those things, living up to his expectations and all of those things. And it drifted away from being more like her mother. Like you said, Vivica Fox's character, which Maxine, no, she was Terry. She was Terry.
No,
I'm sorry. No, when Maxine, I'm sorry. Right. Maxine, she was more like her mother than Terry was. So it that could, I see that, and you think about it. Maxine was, I guess, the next big mama in that family.
Yeah,
and that
she was because she could cook.
Right.
She was the one that could cook, and she was the one that brought the family together and had the kids.
Right. So you can see all of that happening, and I think each of our families has that, that one woman that we see as Big Mama. And I tell my younger sister, I said you, because she has the house with all the kids, and she's a daycare provider too. So she always got a house full of kids, but she's the one that has, that does a lot of that does a lot of cooking and everything like that. She can burn now. I mean, she's fixing. I mean, I'm talking sweet potato pies and deviled eggs.
This is your baby sister.
Yeah. Yep. And you see it, and I tell her, I said, you remind me of Mama. I said, because of her personality, her character, how caring she is, and don't get it twisted either. My sister take off them earrings in a minute, and she'll play. So all of those things become a part of what we saw in this movie. And like you said, Maxine's character was more like the mother, and her husband, that's what he was looking for. That's the kind of woman that he was looking for.
Yeah.
So you see their relationship. Now, their relationship was opposite of Miles and Terry's. They were blue collar. I don't know if did Maxine have a did she work?
No, she was a homemaker. She didn't have a career till she went to the series.
Okay, right. So you even had that aspect of it, where you know, where she, you know, where you look at those two marriages and you see the difference in them,
Yeah.
and how they work with their families and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, that was the, because was it Terry and Miles didn't have any kids either, did they?
No.
Yeah.
No. And then Maxine and Kenny, you know, they had their, that's what he wanted, you know, even though Maxine had Kenny first and when they were teenagers, but that whole thing. And like when we were talking about the new Coming to America, where it's certain people are just raised to, or maybe decide that they want careers. And both women are beautiful women. And I just really want to stress that, because you have the working moms dog the stay-at-home moms, and then you have the stay-at-home moms dogging the working moms. One's too there for their kids too much, one's not enough. And it's this thing with moms that they shame one another. If they go out to work and are career driven, they're shamed. If they stay home and take care of the kids, they're shamed. And I think that it should just be whatever that mom wants to do that's best for their family. You know, their kids and their family, and they write their own rules. But Terry was just about that. You know, she didn't see the importance of that. She saw the importance of that because when she looked at Kenny and Maxine, and even, you know, her talking to Kenny in the kitchen, you know, and about like pretty much she wants what, you know, they have, and she admires that. And I believe that's why Maxine and Terry kind of have that push-pull kind of relationship, because Terry is jealous of Maxine and what she's built with her family. And she wished that she had that gene, but she doesn't. She's too ambitious for that. So I think that's why she they have that tug of war type of relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Bird is just the youngest in the middle.
No, Bird was the baby. No, Bird was the baby, right? Yeah, Bird was the baby. So
that's why I said, did she?
Yeah, Bird just trying to get along with everybody. She just
and she's sick of them. She's sick of both of them. After a while, she like, look, I'm sick. I love you both. I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
but
y'all been doing this all my life.
right. But just the whole thing. So Big Mama, as we talk about being the glue of the family, and then of course she has diabetes and she's in the kitchen, and there she's on fire and doesn't even realize it because she can't feel it. You know, she goes to the hospital. They're talking about, you know, amputating her legs. She doesn't want that. So the whole, I think it was interesting, and it was a lesson there too, with the soul food and diabetes and, you know, all of that. And just thinking about that, the matriarch and now passing away, and then legacy leaving. So there was a lot in that, and then a lot in that movie. And then Big Mama passes away, and through Ahmad's voice, he's like, he thought he heard Big Mama say, keep this family together. So now this young boy, that's his mission, to keep his family together and to extend and pass the legacy. But I love the relationship that Ahmad had with his grandmother. That's so darling, you know, and how he, you know, wanted to just make sure he lived out her wish. And sometimes he was stressed out. He was sick of his whole family. You know, he was trying to get them together by any means necessary, but he was sick of them all. But I like the fact that he was close to his Aunt Terry, because Aunt Terry didn't have kids. So he was close. So that whole family dynamic is something, and it made people appreciate their families, and it made people want to have a big family. Like some people just don't have a big family or don't have family at all. And I just thought it was sweet. It made you be like, oh, I wish I had, you know, it makes you feel that way, you know? So what you think?
No, I really do. You're exactly right. It gave you couldn't come away. Anybody that didn't come away from this movie feeling good. It was really one of those feel good movies. It made you, like you said, appreciate your family that you have. Like you said, if you were unfortunate where you didn't have or you don't have family, it might make you reflect on wanting to have family, like, you know, a family and everything like that and stuff like that. And I know grandma's got a whole bunch of phone calls after this movie came out. You know, it was just that kind of movie where you would, where you just thought about your family, and especially, like I said, the matriarchs of our families, those that we hold near and dear to us, that even if they are gone, we still, we still hold them in our hearts. Because like I told you, I can still hear my grandmother's voice. I still, both of them, on my mother's side and on my father's side. I still hear their voices, and it's very distinctful, and to me that's a comfort, and that's what grandmas gave to you, and that's why I could definitely relate to Ahmad's character with his relationship with his grandmother, because you as little boys, you just think about that, because there's a special affinity that you hold for your grandmother as a grandson. And you think about those times that you're able to be with your grandma, and like you said, those little subtle ways that they let you know you need to come see me, because they wouldn't tell you straight out, you need to go. I ain't seen you in a long time, baby.
Right. Yeah. But it's so funny as you're talking about Ahmad, I'm thinking about, so I was talking about Waiting to Exhale, and I said Michael Beach was in Waiting to Exhale, Jeffrey Sams, but also
bring that
Brandon.
Up.
Yeah, Brandon Ahmad was in there. Remember, he was Angela Bassett's son. The little boy, that was Ahmad.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, it sure was. It sure was.
Yeah, so all three of them was in there. And then speaking of Jeffrey Sams, who played Kenny, and he was in Waiting to Exhale. And speaking of Angela Bassett, the role was offered to Courtney B. Vance. Really? Which is Angela Bassett's husband, of the role of Kenny, but he couldn't take it because he had another opportunity, or he was working on something else. So everybody is just all intertwined in the mix.
Yeah, and I always thought it was, and I was thinking about this today too, that the two Vanessas are connected, because you got the Vanessa Williams in this one, in Soul Food, and then in the show you have Vanessa L. Williams. Does she use the letter in hers? I thought she had Vanessa Williams. And I thought...
No, the original Cosby Show Vanessa Williams has Vanessa Williams. The one in Soul Food that we're talking about now has the L.
Right. She has to use the L in her name. Because of the other... Right. The one that played on the series, that's Vanessa Williams.
Exactly.
That's the original Vanessa Williams.
Because she was acting first.
Correct, right. And I just thought that that was kind of that they're intertwined, where you had the two Vanessas that were involved in the Soul Food and Soul Food.
Yeah.
So.
And also Irma Hall, which played Big Mama, she's the only character from the movie that went on over to the series.
To the series, yeah.
So she's the only one, because remember they were showing her image. And they were showing like flashbacks of her. So that was the only one. And then just thinking about, and there was something else that I wanted to add. The movie was rehearsed for a week, shot in 36 days.
Oh, wow.
Wrapped filming on December 23rd, 1996. And it was in post-production for 9 weeks. So they wrapped that in 36 days. And I believe they said it was in Toronto where they filmed it.
Yeah. That sounds like some Tyler Perry film.
Right. Right. And it's funny. And then Miles originally was supposed to be a jazz musician in the script, but it was Babyface's idea, of course, to make it R&B with Milestone. And then it was like, and I'm going to talk about this scene. So I'm going to say this and lead to this scene. So the bracelet that Samuel, remember, so Mel Jackson was Samuel and Bird was Melinda Williams, was actually worth $15,000 at the time. So the bracelet, remember, so the whole catastrophe about the bracelet. So, and I want to talk about this for real, like in relationships. So you're married, right? Look at Leroy already know where I'm going. So you married, right?
Yeah.
But then your husband ain't got no money, but your ex got some money. You're struggling with your husband over here financially. Your ex got some money, and he's still kind of sweet on you, or seeing how far he can go. So he comes into Bird's place of business. Samuel comes into Bird's place of business, and Bird makes the mistake pretty much dogging her husband to him, like he ain't got no money, he ain't, in subtle ways. So then he comes in with this bracelet. Now that we know it's worth in real life, $15,000. He gives her the bracelet, and then she gets her ex-boyfriend to give her ex-con husband a job.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that from a man's point of view, and then we'll go into what happened.
And well, from the man's point of view, what you want, the husband or you want the ex-boyfriend?
Whatever you got. Well, give it whatever you got.
The ex-boyfriend, he like you said, he was trying to see how far he could get with Bird. He wanted to see, hey, can I rekindle, get something from her? I don't know if it would necessarily be a thing where they would get back into a relationship, but he was at least still sweet on her and would see, where, because I believe he knew that she was involved with somebody. If nothing else, he knew that she had a boyfriend, that she was seeing somebody. So he's trying to see how far he could go with it. And the fact that she did not turn the bracelet away, where she was like, no, I'm not taking it. Take it back. You know the deal. Don't even go there. Should have been her response to that. From Lamb's point of view, yeah, that is the one. That is one of the ways that you could demean a man. You go to your ex to try and get your current boyfriend, husband a job. Come on now. Yeah. I mean, and he took it, and he didn't know that it was through her ex at the time and everything like that until he did what ex is going to do. They're going to try and show up the current as untied. Some men try to flex, as they say. He going to try and flex and put down Lamb, like, yeah, I hooked you up. Look at you. You know what I'm saying? That kind of thing. So yeah, he gonna feel some kind of way, and and he's like, he was like, Lamb was like, forget this job. I'm going to deal with this back in the street kind of way. You don't do that. So he moved some furniture, as they say. You know what I'm saying? So it's bad. I felt bad for Lamb, and I was just like, she shouldn't have did that. You go anywhere else to try and hook you if you're gonna hook your boyfriend up with a job, but not your ex. That's the one place.
Not having that.
Yeah, you just don't do that. Nah, you don't do that.
Yeah, that was, as a woman, I was like,
yeah.
Like, when she first did, this ain't gonna play out well.
Yeah.
This ain't gonna play out well, because yeah, I was like, this ain't gonna play out well.
Yeah.
Because you don't. And then, see, the thing is, I always feel that honesty really is the best when it comes to something like that. Like, I get it that she wasn't trying to do anything wrong. She really wanted Lim to feel like a man and really get him a job, and he was turned down because of he was ex-con, and he was just that whole thing. So she was trying to do a good thing by calling on her resources. Right. But if somebody's still sweet on you, that ain't gonna work well. Yeah, that's gonna blow up, and it ain't gonna age well. And it didn't. And then, the bracelet, like, she maybe shouldn't have took that bracelet, because then he found out about that. So it just ended up being a whole thing. But because sometimes people don't do nothing for you from the kindness of your heart. You have the people that may be your ex, and they just want to see you win and succeed, and they don't want nothing from you, and they become friendly or friends. But then you have the ex who maybe are bitter or mad that you broke up and don't want to see you happy, and want to wiggle them in and use that kind of moxie to have something over. So you always got to watch somebody's intentions, right? And his intentions weren't pure. His intentions wasn't to help another Black man out and get him a job so he can take care of his family. His intentions was coming to mix it up so I can get my girl Bird back. Yep. That's what it was. And then the minute that Lem popped off at the job, when he found out, that's all she wrote. And it blew up.
Yeah, I mean, even Maxine, when her and Bird had that conversation, she's like, Bird, you don't do that. You can't. You couldn't have thought that was a good idea. Telling your ex to hook your current boyfriend up with your, with your current boyfriend with a job.
Yeah.
I don't care then, I don't care if
but
that's
that
the
was
only
some
resource.
good sister advice. That was like real. That was real.
Yeah. I mean, and like you said, if that's the only resource you got, then you need to start somewhere else, because that's not going to turn out well. And it didn't turn out well. It didn't turn out well at all. So, those were the, those are kind of things that family lessons that you get, that you go through, and all of those things like that and stuff like that. And that was one of the ones that, unfortunately, like you said, I think Bird's intentions were good, but it just wasn't a good idea to go that route to try and do it.
But it's true. It's true. It's true. I mean, that is so true. But it just, because you have like Vivica's character, and Vivica said that she was watching a movie with her older sister, Shuggy, and Vivica Fox's older sister said, "Did you use me as the model of Maxine?" And she was like, "I did. You caught that," because her sister is the older sister, the wiser sister, the one with kids, the one that's second in line, as the mom, so to speak. And Vivica is the younger sister. So I thought that was pretty dope. And then Vivica doesn't have children. So to, as godchildren, but not, so to pay homage to her sister, that way. And I thought that was pretty cool. And then plus that her sister picked it up. So, of course, we don't know her sister, so we don't know how she is.
Right.
So we wouldn't have known. We just thought she was just acting. She was but her sister asked her that, and I said, "Wow, that's cool."
But that's what they tell actors to do. In order to be able to get into a character, you have to draw from either your personal space or, so that's what I believe Vivica did. She pulled from her personal space. She had that sister relationship. So
and she was naturally good in that movie. Like didn't it seem naturally good? Like that role seemed naturally good for her. Even
that seemed like that was her in real life.
Yes, because she's played
except Vixen for the kid having the kids and stuff, but
because she plays vixens and sexy, and she was the it girl and all of that. But to me, that role seemed to fit like an old pair of jeans, didn't it? It just seemed very natural for her to do that.
Well, I think they did a great job of casting this movie, because each of the characters, you think about Nia Long as Bird, she has that persona, she came off well with that, and even Vanessa L. Williams, her character with being that overachiever. You think about her background, being Miss America, always having being this let's say uppity type of person or whatever, and everything like that. Even she's had her difficulties in marriages too. So a lot of those characteristics fit, the people that they cast in these particular spots. Even, and I hate to say it like this, Mekhi Phifer, with his role playing Lamb in there, he's played that, that thuggish type of, type of role before and everything like that. But even he was great in his. Just all of the pieces seemed to fit. Yeah, all of the pieces seemed to fit. The characters, they did it. Whoever was the director and the ones that did the selecting of the people that they put in each.
Probably George Tillman. It was his movie. Yeah. Probably George Tillman and his crew. And Kenny was, Jeffrey Sams. I think he's a little cutie. I wish he was on more stuff, because he was. Remember in the 90s, he was on quite a few things and series and sitcoms. He was even on Living Single before, and then he kind of disappeared. But my favorite is Richard T. Jones. I just thought I'd bring him up. He wasn't in this movie. Movie, but I love Richard T. Jones. And they
just do that movie, The Wood.
Come on, just for Richard T. Jones, maybe we'll do that next week. Maybe we'll do that. And I don't know what it is about him, but he's one of my crushes. Dwayne Martin and Richard T. Jones, they just, I don't know. But yeah, see, I ride with my crushes. Like my crushes, they like 20 years in the making. But I don't know what it is. It's about people's laugh, people's style, people's swagger. It's just something about, that draws. They don't have to be like somebody else might be like, they ain't fine, but it's not always about that. It's about the aura or something, Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's my thing. Just because someone may be physically appealing or what we see, what we may call attractive or whatnot, doesn't mean that they're necessarily somebody that you always think of, because you think about each of the women in here, Vivica Fox, Nia Long, and Vanessa Williams, all very attractive. I think they're all very attractive, but if you ask me, I've always had a crush on Nia Long. I've loved since
what black man did
Boys in the Hood. She was that. And you talk about talk about the girls around the way and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nia Long was the girl down the street that you always saw, that you like. I had one even when I went to go visit my grandmother. There was this one young lady, her name was Stacy. Always.
I was gonna say Keisha. I was gonna say, was it a Keisha?
Her name was Stacy. But I love Lisa and Stacy, and we look forward to seeing each other every summer, each other and stuff like that. But you have those that stick with you, or that you, like you said, that you crush on in movies and stuff like that. You be like, it's not always about them being the most attractive or anything like that, because I've never been like that either, where that everybody else would be like, ooh, they're gorgeous and everything like that. I'm like, no.
I'm always with somebody different than everybody else thinks attractive. I'm always like, they thought Shamar Moore, and it's no diss to Shamar Moore, but we were talking about the brothers last week. Everybody's like, he's fine. I mean, he's cute, but I don't see that. Like the standard ones where you have the black women like, he's fine. I'm like, I'm always over here to the left when all the other women over here. So I get it, because it's more than fine. And even if I talk about my past and some of the people that I've been, everybody looks different, because it really is not about that. It's about the energy and something that they have, And we were talking about Jeffrey Sams and Vivica, and you saying all the women, had their roles were perfect for them and they were fine. But did you know that Malik Yoba wanted to play Kenny, which would have been Vivica Fox's husband, but he was doing New York Undercover and he couldn't. So could you see Malik Yoba and Vivica with that?
And see, the thing is, the guy that played Kenny, he was perfect for that role.
Perfect, Jeffrey Sams.
It was him. Now, I guess, looking at the movie, you couldn't see anybody but him playing it, and Malik Yoba he might have been able to pull it off. Who knows? I mean, that's just him as an actor and everything like that. Yeah. But it just seemed that that role was meant for the guy that played. And
it's something about their look worked too. Yeah. Their look worked.
Exactly. Right.
Like both the slender kind of tall. I don't know. They just matched. Right. But so some more trivia. The original cut of the movie was 2 hours and 35 minutes. The final cut went down to 1 hour and 54 minutes. So it's a lot of scenes on the cutting room floor. So 2 hours to 2 hour and 35 minute movie cut to under 2 hours. So there's like 40 minutes of movie somewhere.
That we've never seen. We
never ever see. All right. So we're talking about we talked about Bird a little bit in that, and we talked about Vanessa Williams, Terry, and we talked about Vivica Fox as Maxine, and then their families. So you have Maxine, that was really the homemaker and there for her kids and her husband. Then you have the career woman, Terry, the attorney. Then you have Bird, and then being the oldest and acting like she's the boss, Terry, and all of that. Right. So then you have Bird, who has two big sisters, Nia Long, and you have the big sister she has her own, hair salon. But then you have Terry reminding her every 5 minutes that she's the one that gave her the money for that, and not really allowing her to flourish in that way, although they both love their baby sister. So that personality type with Terry is an unhappy person, because they're doing what they're supposed to do,
right.
but not really what they want to do. And
right.
that plays out in her personality. You've seen that before, right?
Yeah. That's true. I mean, that is really, really, really true. Where you have some people that feel as if, like you said, they're living up to other people's expectations of them.
Yeah.
As opposed to living up to their own expectations of themselves and what makes them happy.
Yeah.
And that's important for people to understand that you don't have to live up to other people's expectations of you. You live up to your own expectations that you have of who you are and who you want to become. And not everybody's going to get or even maybe agree with who you want to become. But you can't do that. You have to be who it is that you are. And like you said, it poured out in Terry's life because, like you said, she was unhappy. She wasn't happy with who she was, and she took that out on everyone around her, including her family and her marriages that she had.
Yeah. So then when then when you have and her being very judgmental of Lim and just judgmental of everybody's lifestyle, that's more indication of her unhappiness and her misery. And then the plot thickens. Finds out she's because Samuel, she's coming to her answers, and that is when I brought up you girl, when she's like, thank you, Maxine, you Maxine down, and Daddy, you were the wrong one, took her love out to her sister.
Right.
Yeah. And they're sitting there, and just that sweetness of my favorite line, because you my sister girl, and just feeling that energy and that love, that was a very sweet moment to me of sisters, because oftentimes you can share those moments as a woman with friends and saying, girl, I love you, but just to have these two sisters, like biological sisters, and expressing that, because sometimes with family, you take them for granted. Let's just put it real. Sometimes with family, you don't say, I love you as much, maybe, or don't express like your feelings. I know a lot of people don't. And just to see that sweet moment when she was coming and she was like, your mama's fish, you're the fish dream, because everybody in every Black family knows if somebody dreams of fish, then somebody is pregnant. I was hearing that since I was young, around the family and stuff like that. So for them to put in a lot of cultural things, and I say cultural loosely, just a lot of stuff that Black folk, understand and see. Right. And I just thought the little details of a lot of the different script was now every Black family is not the same. We're all different, but it's a lot of things that Black folks can pull and be like, oh yeah, my grandmother said that. Oh, my sister said that. I thought that was sweet. And always, and another thing that is Black, it could be white too, but I'm Black. I ain't grow up in a white family, where you always hear, if it's not you hear other people talk about Uncle Pete or somebody that of that's in the room. They ain't bothering nobody.
There's an Uncle Pete in every Black family. I'm sorry, y'all. It's Uncle Pete somewhere in that family. Believe that.
But he gonna say when he want to say. He ain't gonna do a whole lot. Ain't nothing wrong with him. He just ain't fooling with all of y'all and y'all nonsense. He gonna come out and say what he want to say. He may or may not. Back in the day, they used to say touched. Now we know that it's, emotional or mental illnesses or trauma and all of that. But, Black people should be like, oh, ain't nothing wrong with him. He just touched. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. But how he came out and, did what he did, said what he had to say. And then the rumor of the, her holding money and all of that. But what you got to say about Uncle Pete?
No, I mean, but you're so right. There's usually either Uncle Pete or Auntie, somebody that you take that Big Mama was taking care of, that stayed in the house, and they were either, like you said, they were in the back room or they were in the they had the I know with my family, my aunt Rebecca, who my grandmother took care of, which was her sister. She had the medical bed right there in the house because she wasn't putting nobody in home. She was right there, and my grandmother took care of her until she passed away and everything like that.
That's
So
something.
that stuff that's
And that's
real.
yeah,
That is
right.
real. That
So, like
is
I
real.
said, even if it's not your family, you know of a family member or you know a friend that you went to school with where they had somebody's auntie or uncle in there and they be like, just pass that room. Just go. Don't go in that room. Just keep going. You know, you've been over people's houses where it was like that. It wasn't in my house, but I can think back at times, you know, going over people's houses, their room be in the basement or their room be up in the attic or something. And you don't even go up there.
Yep. Absolutely, but that's what soul food was all about. That's what the movie was all about. It was those, like you said, it's a cultural thing, and not saying it is every black family, but I guarantee you, the stories in this movie, it was either you could relate to it in some kind of way, in your family and everything like that. Even and I wanted to bring this up really quick. Even in the a part in the movie, remember when Kenny and Lamb, when Lamb comes to see Kenny because he lost his job. So he's trying to figure out how to be able to tell Bird, and they're sitting on the couch, and they like he's like, man, I'm just trying to figure out how to tell Bird. He was like, oh, you gonna tell her? You gonna tell her? He's like,
a black woman? He said,
you gonna tell a woman, especially a black woman. He's like, man, here, take a couple dollars with you. That's
and then they hugged.
Right.
That was funny. And then he was like, he hugs about Tater. That was funny.
Those are those what we know as real moments, man. It's just like stuff that I promise you that the writers of Soul Food, they reflected back on their families or family people that they knew to be able to write this script, because there's so many of us. I guarantee you, like I said, that there's one aspect of this movie that you can relate to. In some way, shape, or form. So, like I said, even the relationships between, like you said, between Maxine and Cherry, the arguing all the time. They did that growing up. All of those things. You got the brother sister or sister sisters that all they do is argue with each other. They argue their whole life. Arguing since they were little girl, or just growing up. All you do is argue.
Daddy's favorite, mama's favorite. Right. Then you got the baby. Who's everybody's favorite because it's the baby. But so let's talk about, like, as we, come to an end, let's talk about the infamous Cousin Faith. Cousin Faith sleeping with Miles, which is her first cousin's husband. So let's get background on Faith. Just like you talked about, grandma taking in somebody.
Right.
Her mother took in her sister's child after she died, and Cousin Faith kind of grew up with them, and then she was a little wayward and dealing with what she was dealing with because of her mom, and leaving, going off to pursue her dreams and coming back, and Big Mama really having the love for her because that's her sister's child. And even though she was doing kind of sneaky stuff before, that seemed to be her reputation. But even just still pulling family in, no matter what they do, Black folks know that. You still embracing them and pulling them in, no matter what they shoot you in the foot and the pinky toe and all of that. And you still like, but she's my cousin though, So even though they felt that way about Cousin Faith, the Big Mom was like, but that's still family. And she was talking about that, single, and then that one, we can ball up like a fist and we make that impact. This is the family like this, meaning tight, and, nobody can come in between. But so, Cousin Faith ends up living with Terry, and because she just flew into town. And Leroy talked about the scene at the dance studio when she needed, someone because her pianist backed out or didn't show up. So Miles comes in to do that. And then they see each other in the club where they were playing. So they were building some type of, brother, sister, cousin type thing where it seemed like it was fine. But then I was still watching it like, I don't know about that. She getting too close and he's getting too close. But then it's like, okay, some people are close to their cousins' husbands and it's nothing going down ever. And then I think that moment that we talked about earlier in this episode, where they felt that connection and that chemistry because of that. So even when she was up in the dance studio or practicing and he came up there and, you know, saw her doing what she's doing, one thing led to another. They done had sex, honey, up against the wall. I was like, oh. And then Mac, and then did she walk up the stairs and what happens?
No, and that's where she actually sees them in the act. But to Terry's thing again, doing the right thing, she doesn't approach either one of them.
I don't understand it.
But no, you should understand it because that's her character.
And
her
also Ahmad was there too. And she was protecting her nephew.
Exactly. That's right. She was Ahmad. Yeah, she was like, Ahmad, you know, go. I forgot what she said. She said, go back to the car or something like that, or go back into the house or whatever. And so she sees them, but that's who Terry was. Terry was, I'm going to act dignified. I'm not going to
That's true.
Act, you know, so she wasn't going to approach them then, but you see, when they got to that party or when they were at the party at the house.
But that's what happens when you do that. When you hold stuff in, now you got a knife in somebody's throat. Because that's what happened. But you know what? In that shock, you never know how you're going to be in that moment. Right. But I at least would have coughed and said, to make them think somebody heard something and then scurried down the stairs or something, just so you know that I could have or I could not have you wondering if I knew or didn't know.
Right. But it's, you know, that kind of thing that's hurtful, and to have it be your cousin, you know, your first cousin. This ain't somebody with like your second, third cousin. This is somebody that you grew, like you said, you grew up with. She was in the same household as you. You considered her one of your sisters. You know, that's how Big Mama made you carry it. It's your little sister. You know, and everything like that. So to have her do that leads you to the scene where we were saying where Terry, you know, she gets upset and she's like, you know, the family, the family, this is what the family did to me, you know.
And then after family, my husband, I said, woo. And then, but then what goes on with Vanessa Williams, that she was so in her character that she came up with that. And that's one of the lines that everybody remembers when she was chasing him around with that knife, you know, and everybody remembers those moments, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So that, you know, that was one of the most powerful, to me, scenes. And then the other one I think about is when Ahmad gets everybody coming to the house, and he gets everybody there by lying to them and telling them about the so-called money that's
and everybody needs money,
so right? Everybody's ears perked up when he started talking about the money that was in the house, you know. But they get mad at him because of, you know, him bringing everybody together and everything like that. He's just like, look, I was just trying to do what Big Mama asked me to do. And like you said, y'all up here acting like a bunch of fools, you know, and acting up. And I'm just doing what she told me to do. So I had to get everybody together here. And if I had to lie to get everybody to be here, then that's what I did, because it's what Big Mama wanted me to do. And
that was so sweet.
Yeah, it really was. And it's like, how you gonna be mad at the boy for doing that, you know? So that's what. But all of that led to with Terry finally letting out what she had held up inside, like you said, and then Ahmad having to bring everybody together after that for Sunday dinner, to be able to, to bring everybody together for Sunday dinner and everything like that. And everybody had gone their way. I mean, even with Lamb coming back and everything and all that happened, that we don't have time to get into. Terry sicking one of their other cousins, which we know we all got another cousin that we
and you all talking about, don't make me get my cousin on you.
We all got that one cousin,
because you got that one cousin that is on ready set, waiting for somebody to say go. They like this, like double dutch, ready to jump in.
For real. So all of those aspects and stuff like that that lead you to them coming to that to that Sunday dinner, and Ahmad doing what his grandmother's last wishes was and everything like that, and then the culmination of it, and them finding out that there really was some money, because Uncle Pete come rolling
Uncle
downstairs.
Pete.
He come rolling
Right,
downstairs.
Uncle Pete.
He was. They people may say he wasn't in his right mind, but he knew enough to carry out that money.
Right. Uncle Pete knew what time it was. Don't be sleeping on Uncle Pete. Uncle Pete knew what time it was. Don't be playing no games. Because
right?
Uncle Pete already knew. And then the fan, after all the catastrophe, in there, that he knew what time it was, for that money to come in the fan. But let's talk about that. And then I'm going to talk about the series real quick. But let's talk about how all people end up, no matter how small, no matter how large, everybody congregates in the kitchen. Yeah. That's where the real conversations go down, in the kitchen. What do you think it is about a kitchen that everyone gravitates to the kitchen?
Well, like you said, it's where our grandmothers cooked. So it was where it was the, if you will, the classroom, because it was where we learned those lessons. We learned those family lessons. It was where we had those family conversations that you got all the gossip in the kitchen, because you knew Big Mama she knew everybody's business, because everybody was calling to her to talk about the business. So she would talk certain things, because she wouldn't tell everybody others' business, but she knew everybody's business, so she would pull from that. So you would get those lessons in the kitchen. I remember just sitting in the kitchen watching my grandmother cook. Just sitting there watching her cook, and those kind of things, and it was that spending time with each other, with your family, and like I said, you learn to cook by being around your grandmother. That you would see her do certain, cook certain foods. I told you, having the collard greens in the sink. That big black skillet that everybody got.
In the big pot. Right. Don't forget the big pot.
Exactly, the big pots. All of those things you learn that by spending time with with your grandmother in the kitchen, and everything like that. So to me, that's why I think that the kitchen is so significant.
Yeah. And I'm looking behind your shoulder of Ahmad, that picture. That's how he felt. That last scene, he was sick of them. He was like, oh, that's how he felt, losing Big Mama, fooling with all of this nonsense, him trying to be a grown man, keeping a family together. He just needed to be in his mama's arms. That picture right there, that says it. But let's quickly talk about, this was a movie. Sometimes they'll try to do, like I talked about, The Best Man. They're trying to transition that into a television series. Even Coming to America, they tried to do that with Tommy Davidson in the beginning. But Soul Food was one of the only movies that was truly successful in taking a movie, changing the characters, except for Big Mama, not changing the characters, changing the actors. And it went on, I think, 5 or 6 seasons.
Yeah, it was longer than that. Okay.
It might have been. Let me look. Let me see. But it went like around that time. Soul Food series. It went like 5 or 6 years, I thought. I don't think it was longer than that, but let me double check my memory, because I'm doing this off memory. But that was one of the only, how long did it last? Let's see. How many seasons does it say? 5 seasons. I thought so. Okay. Yeah, like my memory, how guys' memory sometimes holds sports and certain things and facts. My memory holds entertainment that way. I have no idea why. It's been like that since I was little. Like certain things just, I hold, like guys can say, well, let me tell you what, such and such basketball's stats are and this, that, and the other, although I love basketball too, but don't ask me nobody's stats. But with entertainment, I'm like that. And I just remember watching it. So definitely it was 5 seasons, which was crazily unheard of to have a series from a movie last that long. So then they went, I loved it because when you ended Soul Food, you wanted to know what happened to those characters. Do you ever feel like that after you see a movie? You're like, well, I want to know what happened. So this was an opportunity for us to see what had happened to these characters. And did you like how it played out? Did you like that?
I mean, because
as we end,
I enjoyed the series. I enjoyed the series and the movie, of course. But the series was good too because they were able to develop more of the story. Of the story, and that's probably why this one was successful versus other ones, because you had somewhere to go with this story. You had such diverse characters that you could build off of, and that you could continue with the family and everything like that. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually, like I said, I thought it went longer than what it did, than what it did for some reason. But
because it was that impactful.
Seemed like it was really short.
Yeah, because you had Vanessa Williams, you had Melinda Williams, you had Nicole Ari Parker from Baltimore, you had just those 3 ladies reprising the roles, and Boris Kojo and Nicole Ari Parker met on the scene, and that came out in 2000. They met and they've been married for multiple years, and they met right there. So it turned into, and then even the husbands, how they had Isaiah Washington as Miles on there, and just the differences with Darren Henson as Lim, Kenny was Rockman Dunbar, right? So just I think, and then all of those characters, even though we know the other characters in the movie, they worked for the series. It worked.
Right. Exactly. I mean, and that was the great thing that you didn't. I don't think that the movie characters or the movie actors would have worked in the series. In the series, the same ones. I think the ones that they selected for the series, for the Soul Food series, they were perfect for the series, and then the ones that were in the movie were perfect.
I agree.
It really, I don't think it would have worked. I don't think it would have worked had you tried to do that, make the movie characters fit, the movie actors fit into the series.
I agree with that so much, Leroy. And then you start now thinking about them as the real, Terry, Maxine, and Bird. So it ends up doing that. So that's when it's done well. But Leroy, another one in the bag. This is what, episode 9?
Yeah.
I can't even, this is episode 9. So everyone, if you're just tuning in to More Than Just a Movie, this is where Leroy and I break down classic Black films. Typically they're from the 90s. We don't try, but that was the real, the 90s and early 2000s. That's when we blossomed again after Blaxploitation movies and all of those movies where you see substance. So next week, we already said we're going to talk about The Wood. That will be next week. So do us a favor and go back and look at all the past episodes. I believe this is episode 9. So go back and look at all the episodes we did. Let's see if we can run them off, because now it's a lot. Love and Basketball, Love Jones, The Best Man, New Jack City, Waiting to Exhale, The Brothers, and I'm missing one. It's so many. I have to get my list, but it's so many different. Let me see. Love Jones, Love and Basketball, Boomerang. That's the one I forgot. The Best Man, Waiting to Exhale, Coming to America, New Jack City, and The Brothers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, this is the 9th show. Episode 9. But thank you everyone for tuning in to More Than Just a Movie. Leroy, you want to end by saying anything?
No, I think that this is, this is one of those feel good movies. Like you said, if you haven't seen this one, You know, this is probably one that you should have seen just going to your family house for Christmas or Thanksgiving. That was one of the movies that you popped in, or one of the movies that you watched. So, you know, it's great to be able to talk about this and reminisce about our families and everything like that. It's one of those definitely feel good movies, and I'm like I said, I'm enjoying doing all of this, talking about the soundtracks and talking about the different aspects of the movies, looking at it from a different perspective and everything like that. So this has been fun.
All right. Well, I wouldn't want to do this with anybody else because you know movies like I do, and we roll right through. And if you're watching for the first time, this is how we do it. We talk about the scenes, we break them down, we put them into real life, and we just have a different way on reviewing them. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in to More Than Just a Movie, where we break down classic Black films. Make sure you subscribe and tell a friend about this show. If you like movies like us, and you're interested in us doing your favorite classic Black movie, the breakdown of that, email at kendelllenice@gmail.com or comment below this video, and we'll take whatever you're saying into consideration. But until next time, we'll be episode 10 next week. But thanks, Leroy.
Absolutely.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Later.